This is our 36th annual Antique Equipment Show for the Chautauqua County Antique Equipment Association. And we're in Cemetery Road, Stockton, New York. This show's getting bigger every year. All kinds of exhibits, demonstrations. Sawmill will be here and to give you an idea of what's going on. In the morning, the gates open about 8 o'clock, and they got weaving demonstrations in the women's building. And at 11 o'clock, they also have tractor games where the kids play with a ball and chase it around. It's very interesting. Then, of course, there's the noon whistle with all the steam engines and everything blowing the whistle. There's all kinds of food on the grounds. We got a tractor parade at 1 o'clock of all the tractors, and we've all makes and models of tractors. Parade of tractors and cars. It's one of the highlights of it every day. And there's a butter churning demonstration in the women's building, sawmill demonstration, tractor parade around the town. They go out and around, and that's quite a colorful deal.
How many do you get, John?
Pardon?
How many tractors go out around town?
Oh gosh, I would say that, how many?
Last year we had just over 50.
We had just over 50. Here's Hap Perry, he's our past president, and he's run the show for years here for us. And I'll just let him talk and explain what a show means to him and the people here in our area. Hap?
I think John's pretty well covered everything. We have here is 17 acres, and we bought it from a fire fraternity 9 years ago. Now we have 15 buildings on it. It gets bigger every year. And before we run out of tractors, we're going to run out of real estate. I mean, things are just great, doing great.
Right across the road from me is what I call the best place on the grounds, and that's the Bustye Historical Society, excuse me, and they furnish pies, and that's one thing I insist on. I sample all pies that goes by.
How much is that? Is that a gallon?
This is a gallon-sized jug. It's made by one of our members. It's Gustafson's Maple Product from Faulkner, New York.
I got a question. To get a gallon of maple syrup, how much sap does it take?
It takes about 40 gallons of sap in order to make one gallon of maple syrup.
Wow. And you just keep boiling it and boiling it?
Yep, you have to concentrate it one way or another. You have to get away, move away about 39 gallons of water, and you're left with 1 gallon of syrup.
So I haven't seen it done since I was a little kid. My grandmother had a pot on her stove. It was always boiling. I don't know what she ended up getting.
I'm Norman Carlson. I've been doing the log hewing here for many, many years. My father and I did it many years ago too. Now we start out with a log, which is of course something that's grown round, and our ultimate goal is to square it up for whether we're going to use it in framing for a house or barn like we have been doing in our culture for over 1,000 years, or whether we're going to be making a square log cabin, as some of them were, although most of them were round log in this area, but some of them were square, or railroad ties, or whatever we want to use it for. Well, I start out on the small end, and I use a measure to see what the biggest beam I can get out of this is going to be practically. If I were doing it on a practical basis, I'd start out and select the logs, of course, for the size. And then with a plumb bob and a carpenter's square, I make sure that these are plumb and level. In other words, I reference them to the center of the earth so that when I come down on this end, the big end, and do the same thing, well, then I won't have any, neither will be twisted in relationship to the other. And there again, I take the same size, whatever has been dictated by the small end. Blacksmith made nails, and I put one in either end. Then I chalk it out. I chalk it out, and I tighten up the chalk line. And I take a look here. Let me get this down. Now this isn't too bad. That's pretty level and straight. I snap that chalk line. Now that's the line. I'll enhance it here for better visibility. This is the line that you hear about in that old saying, "True to the line, let the chips fall where they may." The whole thing was taken from this task of log hewing, and it simply means that you work as close to this line as possible. Once that's done, I can get up here, and this part is called scoring. And here again, I'll remind you that it's hew to the line, let the chips fall where they may. Oh, I got ahead of myself here. I'm sorry. I haven't set this in after turning that side down. I do all four sides. Stability is an important issue. And these log dogs were made, blacksmith made. One of them was made here, and one was made by a neighbor on my own forge. And as I was saying, take the common axe and you score in. To the line. If this was on a regular commercial basis, of course I'd go all the way down through and score all the way, and then turn to the juggling. But for show purposes, so people can see as many of the processes at one time as possible, why I do first one and then the other. I can use a froe and get theoretically a perfect start. Notice that the shape and the weight of the axe seem to do half my work for me. And I used to say, as soon as I found a good strong young woman want to do the other half, I'd be all set. But now they tell me it has to be some sweet old lady.
Oh,
But the broad axe always has a curved or bent handle, and you can use the axe either right-handed or left-handed, but you have to have a different handle. This one is blacksmith made. There's a steel edge on a wrought iron blade, and you can see the texture in the metal. You can see where the smith has folded that over and over like taffy. Now they have the characteristic sound of wrought iron like you hear in the blacksmith shops in the old western movies. Now later on, after the Bessemer process came in the early 1860s, and then the electric furnace in the early 1890s, steel became cheap and abundant as opposed to iron. And that was a terrific revolution. I have a collection of broad axes. Each one is a different shape. And if you go to different parts of the country, you find different shapes. Different centuries, you find different shapes. The oldest ones were goose wing type. And you can see some of them, for example, at the Bastille Festival. And but the later ones They tended evolutionarily to this shape here, or even heavier and thicker. This is American factory-made Ultimate Broadex, and that has an entirely different sound, cast steel. Well, all right. This is, you just go down through, and when one side is done, you turn it down and do the next. As the careful observer can tell here, I've done 3 sides, working on the last one now. And when I'm done, it should be a nice square beam, as you'll see exemplified in some of the buildings here where they've been used.
This is the ladies' domestic display at our Antique Equipment Association. And if you walk around the room, you will see a display case with ladies' boudoir equipment, hair combs and purses and perfume bottles. And then we have a dining area with a tea set, a tea party set all ready to go. You go into the kitchen and you'll see all kinds of old kitchen utensils, a wood stove, a refrigerator that run with a great big gadget on the top of it, and a set of different kinds of irons. One runs with natural gas, one with other gas, and some that you put on the wood stove to heat your iron to use it to burn your clothing, because I think that's what I would do. We have a couple of cabinets with glass displays in them and cups and saucers. We have a display with children's toys, a doll sitting in a high chair, an old autograph quilt, and then we have a display of handmade wooden equipment. There are tractors and backhoes, and an earth mover, a log stagecoach. It's very intricate work. Over in this other corner, we have an old voting machine, a gas engine, and then we have our weavers. Alice is weaving a placemat, I believe, a towel, a kitchen towel. And she has another loom where she will teach you how to weave. And Sandy is over here getting ready to do caning on a chair. We have many other items. There's a couple of looms here in the corner that we'd like a lot of advice on how to get them fixed up.